Hey everybody, welcome to the real United States and welcome to Plymouth, Massachusetts. We are here at the site of the landing of the first English settlers in the North American continent. And behind me is in fact the Mayflower II. It is a replica of the Mayflower, the original ship that the Pilgrims came over on to land here nearby in 1620. Now the significance of this town today, besides that, is that it is the home of Plymouth Rock, which is the legendary landing site of the Pilgrims when they first arrived on American soil. And this is the sort of ship that they came in. This is apparently identical, or nearly as possible, recreation of the original ship that they came on. So you can imagine how passionate these people were to travel across what is arguably one of the angriest bodies of water on the planet in November-December seas. I think they actually landed here in December of 1620 on board a boat made out of wood, held together with wooden pegs, with livestock on board, all their personal possessions. They gave up everything they knew, their home, their friends, extended family, to come here and start a new life. And at the time, there was nothing here but timber and, wildlife, but there was nothing here, no infrastructure, no homes to come to. Everything had to be built with their bare hands, no power tools. These people had to be incredibly strong, incredibly zealous individuals to make that trip in that boat. Now we are in what is Pilgrim Memorial State Park, and this is the smallest state park in the state of Massachusetts. It's only a few acres here, right on this little cove in Plymouth. And it has the ship, it has a couple of small structures built in the style of the era. And it is the home, the current home, the final home, hopefully, of Plymouth Rock, which we're going to show you in a minute. Now, as I said, here in Pilgrim Memorial State Park, there's a couple of these small structures. These are actually curio shops, souvenir shops, here for the state park. But they're built in the style of what would have been constructed in the 1620s when our forefathers first arrived on the American shores. Very tiny buildings, you see, with wood shakes. Probably the original shakes would have been more crude. They'd have been split shakes instead of nicely clean hewn shingles. But still, this sort of architecture, basically just a salt box with a very steep pitched roof. Because in this part of the country, especially right on the coastline, we get a lot of snow. So roofs would have been pitched very steeply to keep the snow loads off, keep the buildings from crushing. And, they'd put some intricate work into the windows. But glass at that time had to be carried by ship with them from England. So very, very precious commodity, very, handled with great care. But this is part of the park that's here, a beautiful little park. Not more than a few acres, but a beautiful testament to the legend that is Plymouth Rock. Now, Plymouth Rock is as much legend as it is historical fact, in regards that they did land in Plymouth, and there was rocks on the coast, and oral tradition passed down which rock it was. Nobody's really certain that that's entirely accurate to this day. However, a rock was chosen which is believed to be the original rock that they set foot on when they came to the Americas. And after several moves, has landed here in this sort of Colosseum-like granite structure that now houses it to this day. And we're going to pan around here and we're going to show you the actual rock. Now, if you were expecting a large boulder, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's gone through a lot of turmoil over the years. It laid in its original place since the dawn of time, but from the time from 1620, it laid there for 154 years, I guess, until 1774, when the colonial people of that time decided they were going to move it to preserve it. And they tried to move it with oxen. And unfortunately, when they went to move it, it split in half, and all they got was the upper half. So that's why you see this big cement line down it, because the other piece was eventually retrieved, and then through the course of history they were brought back together and cemented back together and moved to another resting place. Well, then that place, they decided to move it again. Well, on its trip here, it fell off of its conveyance and split in half and had to be reattached when it reached this location in the center of Plymouth. And at that time is when they went ahead and carved the date of the landing of the Pilgrims into it. So now today, it's hopefully in its permanent home, and we're going to step back and give you a view of this solid granite structure that's been built to protect it from the inclement weather above and from the sea and whatnot. And you'll notice, if we can step back just a little bit and show them, there is a gateway here with steel bars right up to the sea, to this little cove, which essentially I think is supposed to represent the original landing site being a cove. So here is a shot of the solid granite Colosseum structure sort of thing that they've built over Plymouth Rock to preserve it and protect it. It had a gorgeous iron, solid cast iron railing all around it to protect it from people, so that you don't have souvenir hunters chipping pieces off it, which has happened in decades or centuries past, to protect the Plymouth Rock for theoretically all time. Certainly, you can tell from the magnitude of it that they were intending for it to last, you know, like 1,000 years or so. Beautiful view off in the distance of the harbor here at Plymouth. Many, you know, sport boats here, anchored, you know, safe harbor. Beautiful setting. Be a nice place to come in if you were a cruiser. And this is a gorgeous little town. So I'd like to thank you for joining us here on the Real United States in Plymouth, Massachusetts. I hope you've enjoyed this visit. If you've got questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. I love hearing from all of you. I try to get back to everybody I can. If you haven't already, I encourage you to pick subscribe and come along for the adventure. We love having everybody with us. And as always, thank you for watching.